Well, welcome to today's episode. Today, we've got a very special guest, Jonathan Bonanno. Jonathan is an organizational development executive, entrepreneur, and host of the Chief Psycho podcast. As founder and CEO of Zia, a national talent and organizational development agency, he helps businesses and leaders build high-performing, human-centered cultures where growth and psychological safety actually coexist. I love that. With more than a decade of experience in consulting, entrepreneurship, and executive leadership, Jonathan has guided organizations through launch, scale, optimization, and even full-scale rebuilds. His work blends psychodynamic principles, organizational psychology, and blunt, no-nonsense execution, bridging the gap between vision and reality. And so beyond Zia, he serves as a fractional executive and strategic partner to leaders in healthcare, technology, and beyond, driving alignment, succession strategy, and sustainable growth. He's also co-created the Psycho X Insighto Experience, a retreat and coaching platform for servant leaders committed to meaningful impact. His mission is simple: call things what they are, align action with values, and help leaders build legacies that outlast their titles. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Mark. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you just joining the podcast, we at Generative AI help businesses scale their revenue over 12 months using AI. So if you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, make sure to stick around for future episodes. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop the word growth into the DMs. So Jonathan, welcome once again. And can you tell us a bit more about yourself and say what led you to where you're at? What's your journey been like so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for having me on today, Mark. It's great to be here and it's great to share my story, and I hope some individuals can resonate that are listening today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So I actually never saw myself out or sought myself out to be a entrepreneur by any means. If you asked me as a kid growing up in high school, or even in my early career stages, this would never be something that I'd be touching with a 10-foot pole. And yet here I am, completely entrenched and immersed in it. But I was actually on a roadmap to become a plastic surgeon. I took a lot of the prerequisite courses during my high school career and was really leaning into the clinical side of healthcare. By the time that I was graduating high school, I had worked one of those abbreviated or had like a half-day school schedule because I was graduating early.
Oh, wow.
But then I was working on top of it, and some of the work that I was doing was as a CNA. So I was working in convalescent homes, hospice units, newborn, pediatric floors, and everything in between. Yeah, and quickly did I learn that the clinical side of healthcare was not for me. I can't handle blood and I can't do odors. Tons of tattoos, but can't do anything else. So I actually took a year and a half off of school. I was already in my freshman year of college while I was working as a CNA, and my track was go to school to become a nurse, get the degree as a nurse, and then now you have the funds to go to be a surgeon. So instead of consistently going down that route, I took a year and a half off of school and started working, started to figure out what side of healthcare did I really want to be in. And that's when I joined one of the largest pharmaceutical organizations, and I loved it. I loved the business side of healthcare. I loved the opportunities for public health to be a conversation, understanding really the intricacies and the ins and outs of how some of these large-scale organizations really bring forward access to care in these different models and ways of being, whether it's patient assistance programs, whether it's identifying the risks of a medication just need greater stewardship and greater support. So then you develop a program around that. And it was really, really cool. And it was really fascinating. And that's where I fell in love with a lot of the work that I do today. But early on in my career, I was heavily into like the program, project, and implementation management side. So you're dealing with a lot of data, you're dealing with a lot of systems, which then kind of burns you out to a bit or to a degree. And then that's where I really I would say I had an interest in the psychological side because I wanted to understand more of the intrinsic values and motivators for how people work and how people optimize the way they work.
Right. Okay.
Which then led me into what I do now, where I've spent the last 7 years specifically to dentistry, shaping, growing, and developing more psychological, safe, and sound environments for leaders and teams to effectively and authentically grow together. And it's been fun. I get to nerd out on all the psych stuff. And I get to teach some people some cool ways of being. And it's always great to create new patterns of behavior or get rid of some old ones.
And so what does that look like with your mentioning of dentistry and what you're practicing in your services? What's the interaction?
Yeah. So when I was recruited into the world of dentistry, I came in as a consultant and from the space of organizational development, the lens of continuous improvement. So
Hmm.
a lot of the work that we do is around people. So we want to ensure that the people that are supporting the practice or the organization, because the world of dentistry isn't just a brick and mortar office. It is supplies, it is vendors, it is operations, it is transfer of ownership. There's a lot of ins and outs that people don't really recognize that really goes into the business model of dentistry.
Sure.
So we get to support all of those ins and outs as well. I'm saying ins and outs, not, I don't know why, but but we get to support really the infrastructure surrounding the dental profession and the dental professionals that support it and support the patient base. So the work that we do is from the space of talent, leadership, and culture. From the talent side, we support with the development of hybrid and virtual teams. So understanding what are the operational breakdowns happening within a practice or happening within a dental business, supporting practices so that way we can identify whether or not is it a human intelligence conversation or is it an artificial intelligence conversation? What is the right support tool or method to really implement in the talent side? In our leadership arm, we have what we call Ziaversity, which is our entire education and development platform, where what my director of development teaches how to modernize your approaches to leadership and support the generational differences of today's workplace. So really equipping with individuals not only the tools to be an effective and authentic leader, but also the tools to lead more effectively in today's ever-changing workplace and ever-changing dynamic of talent. And then the last area is the culture component. So great, you have the people, great, you're now an effective leader. How do you really put that theory or application into the workplace?
Hmm.
That's where we come into the conscious coaching side. So we actually go in and support more of our teams, more of our clients with that one-on-one relationship building, one-on-one development as well. I am an industrial organizational psychologist. So my background is heavily suited inside of how we improve and optimize workplace performance and behavior. So we have a lot of those executive conversations. At times they're venting sessions, or sometimes they turn into, talk therapy sessions as well. But what's important is that a conversation is being had, and that's the space that we operate and bring with inside of Zia, is to tackle some of these more difficult or braver discussions head on so you can be a more braver and effective leader by tomorrow. And of course, it
Nice.
doesn't happen overnight, but
Yeah.
these are tools and methods that we take time, and the discipline and consistency is what shows up.
And so what's the typical office size that you guys work with?
If it is a single practice, meaning they only have one location,
Yeah.
they're typically having 19 to 25 operatories. So it's a one location, but it's like a mega practice, meaning they can see a lot of people. But we also work with groups. A lot of the groups that we support are of 10 plus locations. So we're
Okay.
working within the offices sizes that are in that growth stage. The emerging group space within dentistry is usually the sweet spot of 3 to 8. So we usually are working with those types of practice offerings where they're in those growth stages where they're either trying to emulate and systemize and replicate their way of being or their value system or their culture between the different locations.
Hmm.
So we help really well inside of those conversations because growth and scalability is on the forefront. So change, innovation, strategy is a lot of the conversations that we get to sit in and sit with. That helps yield the type of discussions that we bring forward because we want to be seen as a talent partner, not just another consultant and vendor you bring in. We're here to actually sit down and understand, what is going to be the best opportunity as you're now going and purchasing practice 11. How do we then staff? How do we then bring in the technology? How do we then bring in the equipment for this location? Is it a scratch start or did we purchase it from somebody else? So a lot of those constructs also come into play with our conversations, but that's definitely our sweet spot. We work with a lot of corporations as well, where they're upwards of 50 plus locations. But at that point, we're not really working with the practice level discussions. We're working more amongst the executive leadership team and how they're operating more as a team. So that way they
Nice.
can support now their locations that they're just popping up everywhere.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, but Are most of the offices that are expanding either on that smaller side, the 3 to the 8 or whatever, and then the versus like the 10 plus the bigger, or do they still tend to be kind of regional, like fairly local or?
3 to 8 group is definitely more local and regional based.
Yeah.
When they start going like the 50 plus or 25 plus locations, it can depend. It
Yeah.
depends on where the practice is located. If you're in Iowa, you're definitely going to be more regional there, and you might expand your location base, or you might not have to. You know, one of my clients, what they ended up doing is just buying the building next to them and then just turned it into this mega double decker practice.
Wow.
And it's state of the art practice. It's beautiful. So those are some of the opportunities that exist in terms of expansion. But typically, when we're in that 3 to 8 space, they're usually staying within their valley. They have a solid footprint within their community.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the clients that we do support in, like, say, for the state of Arizona, I have one that has 17 locations. I have another client that has 11 locations. And those are just some of the top heavier ones that have just been constantly growing and building and adding location year after year. But what we find is if you're not really an entrepreneurial based provider, you're not really in those conversations to begin with. You're looking
Yeah.
for more of that simplicity, the stability state, as opposed to that stagnation fatigue and avoiding it. So then you
Yeah.
consistently grow and grow and grow.
Right. Right. And what about that internal growth? Like, how big is your team? And then what would you say your goals are for the upcoming year?
Yeah. So I have a really great team. I have a small team, and it's a core team of 7. That's of my leadership team. And then our entire organization size is about 25, 33 team members, because we were just bringing on a new person. And 25 of those team members are all allocated and dedicated account reps and managers to a specific client. So they're working in supporting those specific client requests. They're individuals working from anything related to customer service to executive assistance to scheduling, coordination, revenue cycle management.
Nice.
So very, very far and few between. And it's a great variety of opportunities that we bring forward, because as we grow and expand our team, the way that we do so is utilizing and aligning the talent with the right opportunity to support the client opportunity that approaches us.
Mm-hmm.
So that way there is a one-on-one relationship being built. But in terms of our growth, I'm at a weird stage in my career where I am not looking to grow to have an extreme huge team again. I've been there. I've done that. I've had angel investment come through organizations I've supported and built up. I've had teams of 65 plus where I've had 37 team members in 37 states.
Wow.
And it's a lot. Growth for me is more inside of the impact as opposed to really like the team number size for us. So what we're really looking to do is consistently focus on not only our virtual talent integration and hybrid team development for our company, but really pushing quite heavily our Ziaversity platform and teaching and educating more individuals on how to be effective leaders in the workplace, especially inside of the talent that we are bringing forward and supporting them with, because our goal is not to just be the constant, I would say, revolving door of solutions. We want to make sure that we are providing the solutions that are going to equip you to no longer need us as well. Like, we don't want to be the crutch to your development. We want to be the solution to it, certainly, but we also want to ensure that we're creating self-sustainable individuals that are going to go out and develop themselves and develop the people that we're bringing forward for them too. So those are some of our big growth initiatives. We've been on the road quite heavily for many years, and this is our first year of also taking a step back, of not traveling to so many conferences, not being on the speaking circuit as much, because I am a speaker as well. And nowadays, unless you're paying me, I'm not flying out to a stage.
Yeah.
So a lot of podcasting, a lot of great things. I would say the next kind of year is just leaning significantly more into the creative elements of our organization, our brand, and having fun with it too.
And so Zia University, can you share more about that and what their user experience is?
Yeah, so Ziaversity has been something really great that we launched over the summer of this year.
Oh, okay, recent.
My director of development is a fellow IO psychologist as well, and she leads, and she's the curriculum designer and developer of this entire product. But we offer open and closed cohorts. So we have the opportunity to open a cohort to anybody that's interested in learning how to be a better leader. So we've had speakers, consultants, we've had dental office managers, we've had entrepreneurs join that call. And it's a 10-week program, whether it's open or closed. So that way they have the opportunity to go through each of the learnings. There's a live interactive session with Taylor, my director of development. So you can interact with her, ask questions around the material that's been shared. It's a fully virtual automated program and platform that we've designed and built out. So that way they're getting fed all of the information necessary with certifications at the end of the program too. And what's great about more of the closed cohort offering is this is where we actually get to bring together some executive teams. We have a team wrapping up there. I believe they're on week 7 right now, wrapping up and cracking open each other too, because you get to know each other on a tactical basis in most times. But you don't get to really understand the depth and the layers of who you're really working with. And what's great about this cohort is that we really tap into that. We're really leaning into how we humanize the workplace and really humanize one another and know that, we can tap on each other's shoulder if support is necessary and needed. You just need to have the safe space to bring the conversation forward. And oftentimes what we found inside of our cohort experiences is people don't recognize how safe they are with their own people when they just put some voice and put some language around it. And the moment that really comes to fruition is when people really start sitting into their own skin and realizing that, I'm not alone in how I'm feeling with this thought, or I'm not alone with how I'm feeling with this issue at home. And you get to be more solution oriented amongst each other, and you get to learn more about one another as well. And it's just easier support mechanisms that get created as a result of some of these more vulnerable discussions taking place, because we're not training leaders how to be effective just to be dictators and to be managers. We're teaching them how to be real. Like, people want to resonate with you. People want to understand how I can trust you and how can you show up transparently for me, especially in the generational differences that are in today's workforce. We want to understand the why, not just the what behind what's being asked of us. So how are we creating that sense of belonging? How are we creating that sense of relatability? And it's a really beautiful thing to see, because again, you start cracking these people open. You're like, damn, that's where the opportunity was. And now it's here. And now we get to see it and sit with it. So it's a lot of fun. Education, modernizing the leader, modernizing the workplace. And we have a bunch of not platforms, but additional courses that we have in our pipeline that we're building out to be launching inside of next year's 2026 cohorts as well.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so where would you say is one of the big areas that you've instituted some sort of AI? Is it in the university, or is it in internal workflows? What could you share about how you're utilizing AI?
Yeah, I'd have to say it is something that we utilize on a daily basis, from ChatGPT prompting and making sure that the job descriptions and ads that we're crafting are articulated well, but to even just the automations that we have set up for the type of engagement and community development that we're creating. We have a really great product and platform that we've been referencing for our community engagement space that has a lot of automated workflows, lots of engagement components, polls, quizzes to really get people communicating and talking without it really feeling like it's a robot. It comes from me, or it comes from my other director of operations. So that way you can interact and create a conversation. We utilize a huge level of AI inside of our campaign development for all of our marketing components, which is really, really great too. So all of our A, B, and C testing that we push out, referencing what the reports are actually indicating, is really helpful. So that way we can make these improvements too. Let's see, even our ATS platform, which is really helpful too, because it'll go in and correct and spit out some of the job descriptions that we're looking through and some of the ads that we're posting specific for job sourcing. But even in that scenario, we also have another tool that's being referenced for the type of patterns that are going to show up based off the job description or the job role that you're looking for, and how it plots well within the current team dynamics. So that's more like personality and behavioral based assessment and learning that we've built in, which is very helpful, because that is kind of one of our unique value propositions, if you will, inside of working with us, is you have a psychologist that works and understands the diagnosis of that assessment to then share. So I would say those are just a handful of the areas that AI has been a huge, huge lever for us, because the way that we look at and leverage AI is it's not just a tool to expose the blind spots, but it's also not the tool that we're utilizing to dictate all of our decisions. When we're utilizing it more as a mirror, and that way we can understand like, okay, this is what's coming up and this is what's showing up. Maybe there's a breakdown in this tool because we utilize ClickUp and now this AI reporting component is not syncing correctly. Well, why is that? And
Right.
is that data that we're looking for to begin with too? So it's been a really great it's been a great mirror. Like that. I like to use that as a frame because it helps
Yeah,
us
I
look
like
at what we're
that.
not looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's for me it's another way of saying the difference between the individuals that use this as a way to use like cognitive offloading, and just
Yes.
because AI created something for them, like they don't have to get creative and they're
Yeah.
fine with it. Or on the other side, that it's the creative uploading, it's the cognitive uploading of things, and so you're kind of
Yeah.
like going to that best version of yourself
Yeah.
because of the AI. And so yeah, I like the mirror though too, right? Where it's like the AI is giving you another way of looking at yourself to kind of up level your game.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great approach.
Yeah.
You mentioned a little bit like in the workflow automations that you guys have, that sometimes you and or your business partner also come back in the loop. And so like how do you balance that? What is the interaction between the human touch and just like the flow of AI that your clients are experiencing?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would say there's always a conversation of human intelligence versus artificial intelligence with us, and especially when we're in the space of talent, because we know that opportunities and jobs are being dismantled, and most of the time it's some of the tasks that, shouldn't have been done by a person to begin with. But for the most part, we are looking at it from AI still needs some form of psychological governance. We need to understand that just because it is the most efficient thing to reference or utilize today doesn't necessarily mean it's the most ethical or unbiased approach to utilizing it today.
That can absolutely be true.
So that's really the conversation that we have many of the times with our clients. There's a lot of great tools in dentistry right now that are helping support like diagnosing proper treatments and proper treatment planning, creating more of the cognitive understanding as well for a patient to see and identify, oh, I do have a cavity. There is going to be a need for a root canal, or I have significantly lost my bone in my lower jaw. So now we need to identify what are ways to save my tooth or save the remaining bone structure. Those tools and those equipments and those products are definitely things that we highly recommend and are always going to champion because it's improving the quality of the patient experience
Oh
most of
yeah,
the time.
100%.
But when it comes to like systems and development and tools, there's a lot of different coaches in the dental space that have really leaned into the AI conversation where they're teaching like ChatGPT 101, here's how you do this. When
Right.
it's great and it's helpful, but AI has been around for so many years. This form of AI is very fresh because it's prompting and consolidating data for us, yes, but there's other things and tools like automations that have been in place, like scheduling coordination, utilizing Calendly as a reference. So those types of tools and products we will still bring forward based off of the experience that they're looking to experience. If it's a practice, it is more products and equipments that are going to help, the clinical side of the conversation. Sure, we'll reference like some other tools like ChatGPT if they're not utilizing it for job description crafting or roles and alignment, or even just ideating on raffles for new patient experiences. Those are things that they can reference and get some ideas on how to just create a better
Yeah.
team culture, or patient experience. But when it comes into more of the business owners or businesses and vendors, I would say that's where we get to be a little bit more crafty in understanding what real systems and tools they are utilizing. What type of EOS do they have in place? What type of CMR do they have in place? Are they referencing a PMO? And if so, what? And if so, what? And then who is doing it and who's owning it and who's managing it? So then we look at, okay, what are the best automated tools that might be the best thing to support tracking conversions or identifying leads that are coming in from your marketing ad spend? There's a lot of great tools that are out there,
There's so much. Yeah.
and it's hard to
It's
keep
too much.
track of.
Yeah, they are totally leapfrogging one another as well. And
Yeah.
it's like there's so many great tools, and I don't know, sometimes I like to think of it like to a carpenter or something, right?
Yeah.
Like he's got his tool belt and like he's good with it. Like pick that
Yeah.
nice hammer, maybe graduate at some point to like a newer hammer because it's a little more lightweight and so you don't hurt your wrist over time or something. But like they all get the job done. It's like if you're always
Yeah.
trying to find the that shiny object, they're all doing a lot of great things. But if you don't learn one well and just use it,
Yep.
then it doesn't transfer, right? It's like you're not getting deep on whatever it is that you're actually trying to do.
Exactly. What's
So,
the need? What's the outcome that you're chasing? Because
yeah, yeah,
your needs evolve. I've went from Asana to Monday to ClickUp and to Salesforce. Like it's an evolution.
yeah,
Try them all if you need to.
yeah. And it can be. And then there's that spot where it does enough for you. And then at that point, you're able to do more of your thing, whatever your thing is, right? Whatever your
Right.
role in the dentistry office is, or larger in the, business ownership of the group of the practices or what have you. Yeah. What would you say would be uh, something that you've learned from when you've implemented some sort of an AI or automation workflow, just, basic stuff, that it's led to some challenges? And so where you've gained like some takeaways, some lessons learned about something that you didn't expect to see thanks to the AI.
Yeah, I'd have to say it always seems simpler than it is. And I'm a pretty tech savvy
Right.
guy, and I can set something up very, very quickly. Like I'm very confident in my skills and capabilities. But when something that you think is simple to implement and set up and develop is not, and then you put all this work into,
Right.
let's say, prompt and automated communications and emails that need to be scheduled, and then for whatever reason it doesn't save, and you have forecasted a whole year's worth of content,
Right.
it is extremely frustrating. And that is what we recently ran into in the last couple months in implementing our new community platform. Was building out specifically to that. We had that exact scenario come up where my team was developing, designing, feeding it all into it. We were going into the UAT stages to ensure that it was going to work from the user experience. Most of it did, until we realized that none of the scheduled emails, scheduled DMs, and even the little welcome intros were
Okay.
going to be pushed out. It
Hmm.
all looked like it was on the back end.
Yeah.
None of it was activated or turned on to be pushed through. And then we had to go through back and forth with the help desk and get support to get it figured out. But yeah, it was very frustrating because it was set up as no, just plug and play, copy paste, do all your stuff here, set your timeline, schedule and release. Click those buttons and it's great. And then didn't happen. So that was probably the most frustrating thing that we most recently come across.
How
I would
soon in the process did you notice it? Like, was it soon after setting up and you were just testing it? Or was it like you thought it was rolled out and then it wasn't into practice? Was
Yeah,
it, was it like the latter?
no, we caught it in the UAT stage still first, but we were like 5 days deep into thinking that everything was working right, and then by the time we started testing that specific function, we realized that it wasn't.
Mm.
So that I wouldn't say it derailed our timeline, but it definitely took us 2 days back, and we had to rush to finish some of the other early or later portions that were already dependent on that first stage being
Hmm.
completed.
Hmm. I see. Okay. And so how along your processes, what are some key KPIs that you guys like to track internally?
Yeah, so I would say key performance indicators that we're tracking internally are all related to our goals and objectives, making sure that sales numbers are being met, client satisfaction numbers are being met, cultural index is being met, our psychological safety score is being met. And some of these are more soft skills. Some of the more tactical ones are more in line if the team member is assigned to a client, they're working on the one-on-one reporting structure that's with the client that they're working with. So that those KPIs would look very different as opposed to like what my leadership team is responsible for.
Hmm. How do you track it all? 'Cause especially like with the soft skills and things like that, do you have, everyone's a fan of dashboard these days, but are you instead using some sort of like alongside you, there's some sort of twin that's listening to all of this and then giving you a report, or like how do you verify that?
Yeah. Yeah, so Fathom is our tool of choice when it comes to call recording and transcriptions. So we have a Fathom recording on all of our team calls to identify action plans, action items, etc. And then all of that is getting fed into, we utilize ClickUp for our PMO space. So all of our projects, our goals, everything is established within there, timelines, deliverables. And then we have the AI summary feature built into our ClickUp. So that way it feeds into our dashboard and reporting space.
Nice. Okay,
So
got it.
inside of any of our huddles, like Tuesdays are my huddles with all of my internal team. So we go through our dashboards and see where the opportunities are. Is anything stagnant? Is any support needed? Do we need to create something? But let the system let the system produce the result in that instance.
Nice. And what would you say, Jonathan, are some emerging trends that you might forecast either in general for AI or specifically as it relates to dentistry or as it relates to the services that you provide?
Yeah, so there is a project that I'm working on currently, and I'm operating as their fractional chief strategy officer. So we're working on all the brand and go-to-market strategy and development plan for them. But it's a product called KaiMesh, and it is a full AI-built employee operating system that is going to support not just a lot of the business functions and fundamentals that are necessary, but really connecting the human sentiments. So what's really cool about this platform is they built in like a burnout score. So that way they can really identify the workload of an individual, whether or not they're at that burnout scale or where they fall within the burnout scale to support capacity overload, or capacity leveraging as well. So that was something that I've been really, really fascinated and cool to see because I've not seen something like that in the market yet, where of course you can see how many projects people are working on, but not factoring in I would say the emotional capacity, which is really cool to see, how are they in terms of the emotional fatigue or decision fatigue that they might be experiencing as a result of their workloads. So that's something I'm interested in seeing, whether it
Yeah.
happens, consistently inside of what we're building or even seeing
How
some
does it
other.
do that? How does it see inside?
So how it's built out right now, so it will augment based off of all the projects. It'll augment based off of all of the meetings that are scheduled within your calendar. It will even scan and score through the emails that you're communicating with as well. And then it will spit out it's like a battery percentage meter. And as it's going up through the battery, as you meet up to 100%, the color goes from green to yellow to orange to red. So that way it's like, oh, this is an alert for the manager and leader to see, like, Jonathan's potentially in overload mode or he's
Right.
approaching overload. Let's
Bandwidth
step in and see
tapping
what's
out.
exactly. So that's what's really cool to see. And I'm most excited to see that come to life.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I like how it ties in, kind of like you were saying before, more of the soft side of things as well. So to really tap into the psyche and the emotions behind the
Yeah.
individual to really maintain that humanness so that we're all not just on the hamster wheel.
Yeah, because, well, if you think about the AI utilization, if it's automating your life, at least 40% of all of the operational minutia that you deal with, there's still 60% of the human complexity that's needed. So still needing to be empathetic and understanding how empathetic they can be will show up if or not they're if and how burnt out that person is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So there's the AI that's kind of sitting alongside us right now. I've got another podcast guest. He talked about one that he's implementing called Wingman, and
Cool.
so even like with yours that you're referencing there, I think as you mentioned fractional CTO for them, you're being
CSO, strategy
CSO.
officer.
Yeah, okay, great. And so just like how do you see the interaction going forward between humans and AI and as the job roles kind of collaborate, what do you see that experience looking like?
I think it's honestly going to help identify the leaders and the contributors that really haven't been doing much. And it's going to really
Ah,
set the bar high between who's been a mediocre player versus who's somebody that's committed and invested in the outcomes. So that's kind of where the angle that I'm looking at it from is it's going to bring to light a lot of opportunities, either with people or within the systems itself.
right.
So how they collaborate and how they show up will also be another factor. I'm a strong believer that AI is not going to replace a human, but it will replace the human that's not utilizing it and not taking the time to understand it because it's our future. It's the day of operating today, and
Yeah,
it's only
yeah,
going to get better.
exactly. Today being key.
Exactly. So I think there's definitely a lot more opportunities. I think people need to recognize that it's not something to be afraid of. It's something to lean into and just understand. Everybody was afraid of Y2K and thinking
Right.
that something was diabolical was going to take place, but it was just a new year, new era that we were going into.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I look at this is the workforce is changing. We've learned a lot as a result of COVID. Shifts happened in the talent space in a lot of professions. So I think automation and utilization is always going to be a great conversation. It plays a role for humans, and the human intelligence component is where they want it to play, in my honest opinion, is how you choose to adopt it and adapt. Otherwise, you just get left behind and complain.
Yeah, yeah. The World Economic Forum was talking about how there's definitely going to be some job loss because of AI, but that it's going to be actually a net gain of, employment opportunities and positions and that sort of stuff. And I think it's important for the people that are graduating, college these days or are about to, or even, just recently did, because where a lot of those positions have dried up. And so the importance of just, taking those little steps to embrace it so that they are using that tool effectively to help them, springboard whatever it is, the work that they're creating and doing. And because of that, then we'll kind of collectively, continue to do that up leveling like we were touching on before.
Right.
And yeah, that's always my take on it as well, is just, dip your toe in, like kind of put it in where you can, iterate on things, and then, go from there. Maybe then bring in another type of AI or another workflow or, something next to build on. Always having that human oversight, I think, is so key. Keep the guardrails, everyone says, but also well, just like you're doing, as the CSO, it's all about having that awareness so that you're able to transform that energy and not get burnt out, and use it for your own mental health, for your own productivity, and then the ripple effects that causes in your business and the community, and wherever your business kind of ripples out to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think what's really cool about it is AI is either going to amplify it's going to amplify whatever exists today. And you're either going to be happy or sadly disappointed with the results.
Right. Yeah. Well, fantastic. Well, Jonathan, this was fantastic. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we kind of, land the plane here?
Yeah, my last closing comment or closing thought would be is that we don't need to make AI more human. We just need to make humans more conscious of the AI that they're utilizing. And I think we'll experience a huge change in the dynamic of the conversation too.
I love it. And where can people find you online with the work that you're doing and, any reach outs?
Yeah, so my handle is at the Chief Psycho on Instagram, and then at Talent by Zia for all of our professional work at Zia for coaching talent, all the fun stuff. But that's how you can find me on all the social media channels, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm Jonathan Bonanno. Yeah, that's where you can find me and follow along and get psyched to learn with all of us crazy people.
And all right. Well, thanks for sharing that. I think it's so interesting what you do, specifically in the dentistry space. And it seems as though you've taken it to another level. And so I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been fun and, love teeth, I guess. So you gotta get to deal with it. Right. Well, great meeting you and great chatting with you.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah, seriously. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Mark. Great chatting with
thank
you.
you.
Great meeting with you. I hope you enjoy your Wednesday.
You too. Talk soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.